Hey, wait a minute guys. Before we move any further, please make sure you have your worksheet in front of you, because what I'm going to be talking to you guys today about is properties. And the first property we're going to be talking about is communitive property. So here's the key thing that I want you to remember with communitive property. No matter how you add the numbers or multiply the numbers, the answer will always be the same. So here's an example. 6 plus 4 is 10, right? Good. What about 4 plus 6? The answer is 10 also. You can see that the numbers got added in a different order, but the answer was 10. Just like, say I were to give you $5 one day and $10 the next day, you would have a total of $15. But what about next time around? I'm going to go ahead and give you $10 the first day, and then the next day I'm going to give you $5. Well, you'll still have $15. So that is what's known as commutative property of addition. Now, the easiest thing to understand is it works the same exact way with multiplication. It's just called commutative property of multiplication. So 6 times 4 is equal to 4 times 6, because no matter what order you multiply them to, 6 times 4 or 4 times 6 gives you the answer of 24. So before we move on, I'm going to kind of test out my art skills really quick. When I hear the word commutative property, I think of community. And why? Well, I'm going to draw a house for you guys. Put a little chimney right there. And imagine if you lived in a gated community with 2 other people. So we're going to say that you live right in the middle. This is you. And this is Joe. And this is Jane. Now, they live in the same community. So when you hear commutative property, think it doesn't matter what order they're in the same community, or they get the same answer. So let's just say Joe and Jane decided to switch houses. So Jane lives here now, and Joe moves over here. Are they in the same community still? The answer would be yes. So commutative property, no matter if they switch, as long as the numbers are the same, the answer will be the same. Next property is associative property. Best way I explain this is when you see the parentheses, think of the numbers talking together, or what we like to consider associating. So whenever they're in parentheses, they're associating, or they're talking with each other. So when you see that, remember associative property. Alright? So here we would say that 3 plus 4, or 3 is talking to 4, plus 8. But then all of a sudden, 4 gets added to 8, or they decide to talk. So they're associating now. So when you see the parentheses, it's associative property, but no matter how you add it, it's always going to be the same. So let's go ahead and work it out. Remember, order of operations. Man, I wish I had Aunt Sally here. Oh, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. She just walked in the door right now. She always comes when we need order of operations. That's great. So we do parentheses first, guys, remember. So that would be 7 plus 8, because 3 plus 4 is 7. And then we do parentheses on this side, and 4 plus 8 is 12. And we're going to go ahead and rewrite our work. So what's 7 plus 8? 15. What about 3 plus 12? 15. So we know that when it's associative property of addition, the answers will be the same, even if 2 different numbers are talking to each other. But the key is you have to have the same numbers. 3, 4, and 8 are the same as 3, 4, and 8, but they're just in separate sets of parentheses. Alright, so here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Were you guys looking back and thinking we're doing the same problem again? If you were, I want you to look closely at these signs right here. That's multiplication. So we're going to be doing associative property of multiplication. It works the same as addition, except you multiply. So remember, when the numbers are inside of the parentheses, they're associating, or they're talking. So whenever we see that and we're dealing with properties, we know that that's associative property. So let's go ahead and work this out and see if we get the answer correct. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we write times 8. And why did I do that? Remember our order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We always work parentheses first. So let's continue on to this side now. we rewrite our 3, and 4 times 8 is 32. Now, for it to be completely associative property of multiplication, the answers have to equal each other, and the numbers have to be the same. 3, 4, and 8 is the same as 3, 4, and 8 on this side. The only difference is the parentheses is placed in a different place. So, 12 times 8 is 96. Now, I didn't show the work because I do expect you guys to know that by now, and if you don't, I would encourage you to go back and practice your multiplication tables. Now, we want to make sure that 3 times 32 is equal to 96 as well, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply that right here for you. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 96. And hey, what do you know? It's the same answer. So when the answer is the same, it's associative property of multiplication. Hey, now we're on to an easy one. Well, I like to consider it an easy one, and it's identity property. The reason why is because I can tell if it's identity if I see a 0 for addition, and what I'll show you later is a 1 for multiplication. So, when you see something like this, 25 plus 0, the thing that's going to stand out to you is the 0. So, once you see that, the answer is whatever 25 plus 0 is, and that's 25. I like to explain it this way. Imagine if you were to look into a mirror. And if you looked into the mirror, you would see yourself. You see the identity of who you are. Just like this. 25 is basically looking into the mirror, and he's seeing 25. So, that would be identity property of addition. Now, let me go ahead and show you identity property of multiplication. It's just as easy. But instead of a 0, it's a 1. Because with identity properties, the number that's either added to 0 or multiplied to 1 will always be that number. Just like 25 plus 0 gives us 25. So, 25 times 1, now I hope you guys know your multiplication facts for that. That should give you 25. See, 25 is looking into the mirror again, and he's seen himself. So that would be identity property of multiplication and identity property of addition.